The Zone is the home of boxing, with over 150 live fights a year.
It's over! There's no way back from this, surely!
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
How do you like it? How do you like it?
That is unbelievable.
These guys will be legends in their own country, but also in the international basketball world forever.
That is what sport means. That is what the EuroLeague trophy means.
Are you not entertained?
I'm not supposed to be cheering, but this is X Series. I can do whatever I want.
Everything is difficult in this life, so still you need to be on it.
It all comes down to tonight. Don't miss the biggest night in MMA. PFL is more than a fight.
Catching up on any NFL game is easier than ever before.
Looking to the end zone for the win! Oh my gosh, one of the great games you'll ever see.
The competition is back, and the UEFA Women's Champions League looks set to be bigger and better than ever before.
It's their time, a night to remember.
The following program is recommended for those 16 and over, as it contains sporting violence, possible bad language, and flashing imagery.
Right, here we are, guys. This is Boulevard City. That over there, turn, is my favourite restaurant. There you go, Mr. Cameraman. That over there is the fountains. I'm telling you now, that, when the lights are on, spectacular. Do a bit more of a turn. That there is the stage. Follow me. This is where the fighters walk. Now, yes, it's plastic right now, but it's got to be fresh for the fighters. So they're going to take this plastic off and they're going to make the walk over there. Quite intimidating because this stage is by far the biggest stage I've ever seen. Follow me. Wow. This is the biggest stage I've ever seen in my life. The grandest of stages as well. And it makes sense because this is the greatest fight card ever. So you've got to have the greatest stage ever. This is where the fighters are going to do their thing. And, follow me, T marks the spot. We're going to come face to face at the weigh-ins. And then the show is underway. Ariel and Ade, stay tuned.
Hello and welcome to a brand new edition of Ariel and Ade right here on the undisputed global home of boxing. Yes, of course, we are live and direct on DAZN. And what a week this is, and there is really no time to waste, no time to dilly-dally. What about my guy, Ariel Oladipo, who is all the way over in beautiful Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, holding it down. No one does the walk and talk better than him, and you saw a taste of that in that cold open. Of course, I'm Ariel Helwani, holding it down in our New York City studio, and usually I say we'll cross the pond to say hello to Ade. Now we'll cross, I think, at least many ponds, 3 or 4, to get to the kingdom where Ade Oladipo is holding it down over there for us. Let's not waste any time and say hello to the man himself, the king of the walk and talk. You do that better than anyone in the business. You walk, you talk, you make it so natural. I do have 2 follow-ups, if I may.
Okay.
Number one, and by the way, salam alaikum. Thank you for joining us. It's great to have you. Inshallah, alhamdulillah. You look to the side and you tell us about your favorite restaurant. You don't mention the restaurant. You don't even give us a dish or two. Give us something. What is this restaurant that you speak of?
Oh, well, 1 second. They told me to do a minute opener. I can't go in there and, what am I supposed to do? I'm not Gordon Ramsay. I'm not going to go in there and do something. I go in there. I have my little shisha kebab. Then I have I smoke a little bit of shisha. So you want to know what else? I mean, I drink a little water, maybe a little green tea, maybe a coffee. But I'm there. Every time I go to Boulevard City, they've got a table for me there. I go in.
Wow.
I sit down. They know exactly who I am. They know my favorite meal. I mean, come on. I've been coming here 2 years now. 2 years. So, they know who I am. I'm Ariel Oladipo, the king of the walk and talks.
Oh, I love it. And do we have a name? Because the next time I'm in the hood, I'd like to go there as well. Do we have a name, or can we not give them a shout?
Can you not see I'm stalling here?
Oh, okay,
I'm stalling because I don't know the name.
Sorry.
Can you not go?
You know what?
You not work with me here? I'm stalling because I don't know the name.
I know that spot. It's a great spot. It's a fantastic spot.
Go.
How many takes, by the way, that walk and talk? How many takes? One and done?
One take, and done. One and done.
Absolutely,
I mean, come on, it's easy work.
All work is easy work, and you continue to exemplify that. We have so much to discuss. We're finally here, Ade. We are finally here. It's the fight week that we've been waiting for. It feels like we've been talking about February 22nd for months and months and months, and for the most part, it has all remained intact. And so we have a lot to get into as far as this Saturday, which, of course, you can see right here on DAZN, the massive one headline by the great Artur Beterbiev versus Dimitri Bivol, the rematch of the tremendous, amazing, historic fight that we saw just a few months ago back in October in the same city in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. But before we get into things, and we have a lot to get into as far as today is concerned, we had the grand arrivals, which you set the scene up so beautifully. Let's just put last weekend to bed. There were 2 massive showings, in my opinion, one on Friday, one on Saturday. I do want to start with the man who I thought was the star of the weekend, and that's Keyshawn Davis. We were lucky enough to have him in studio just yesterday on my program, and I thought he stole the show. And, Ade, we have talked, you and I, both on air and off air, about the lack of American stars in the sport of boxing, and that the fact that the American stars, the current American stars in this sport, are missing something. They're not quite connecting with the larger sports audience. You have the guys like Tank out there, you have the guys like Terrence, but for some reason, either they don't want to do the interviews, or when they do the interviews, they're not really giving you much. There's something, a je ne sais quoi, that is missing. Keyshawn Davis, at 25 years young, after what he did on Friday to Dennis Baranchyk, after the fact that he's only had 14 fights on his resume, silver medalist in 2021, turning 26 later this month, with a smile that can light up the room, with a story that could bring, any dry eye to tears, with a charisma and a skill set and an athleticism that every boxer on the planet dreams of. I feel like this could be the future face of American boxing. What do you think?
Hey, it's a good shout. It's a big shout, but it's a good shout, right? I mean, and to go to your point about the current stars maybe not connecting with the fan bases, maybe not talking. Gervonta Davis doesn't seem to really want to do much media. Terrence Crawford, I think, once he does come out of that box, is actually fantastic. But maybe, obviously, at 38, with only maybe a couple of fights left, it's not going to be him. Why not Keyshawn? And the good thing about Keyshawn is that he's got so many dance partners around him. So there are big fights to be made. He wants all the smoke. You remember last week I said he could be the best out of the lot. I did say that. I said Baranchyk will give him a tough fight, but I said, look, he could be better than Gervonta, could be better than Shakur, could be better than Vasily Lomachenko. And I think he almost stood up to that. It's almost like he heard our words and thought, okay, let me show these guys what I can do. And I think a 4th round stoppage, but it isn't just that, as you say. It's not just in the ring, it's what you do out the ring. Okay, give him the mic and let's see what he can sell. And this guy can sell you everything. I think he's fantastic. There is a backstory there that we can resonate with that will bring a tear to the eye of some. But then there's also guys out there that he's kind of going back and forth with, Teofimo Lopez being one of them. So look, I love Keyshawn. I think Keyshawn's fantastic. I think he's a great boxer. He's got the frame. You saw him. He's got the frame to go higher to 140, maybe even 147. So I think we're looking at a potentially multi-weight world champion that can bring back the good old times to New York boxing. I mean, you've said this so many times. We haven't had a big fight at Big MSG since Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. Keyshawn could be the guy to bring a big fight to Big MSG. That's how much hope and praise I'm giving Keyshawn Davis.
All right, so he gets the WBO lightweight title. He's in the same weight class as a Tank Davis. To me, there are three massive fights for him, like within his grasp. There's Tank Davis. There's Andy Cruz, who he has the history with, the 4 amateur fights. And there's Vasily Lomachenko. Lomachenko, probably the easiest one to make because he's under the Top Rank umbrella, but we're not really quite sure where he's at, like if he ever fights again. There's also the Teofimo Lopez fight, which he believes, by the way, he told me this yesterday, that Teofimo Lopez is behind the disgusting racist attack that he received earlier in the week, last week, the watermelon and bananas that were sent to his room, and the disgusting note as well, which is quite shocking. If in fact that is true, we don't know, but that's his belief. Lopez, of course, at 140. Do you see any of those 4 fights happening for him in his next fight?
Let's take him off. Gervonta, obviously, absolutely not. Vasily Lomachenko.
Why
no.
absolutely not, by the way? Gervonta's fighting Lamont Roach. We expect him to get by him in just a couple of weeks' time. Why absolutely not?
I don't know what Gervonta's doing. I mean, it's funny, we spoke about Gervonta so much on the show, and, you know, a couple of months ago, we spoke about him retiring. He looks disinterested in the sport of boxing right now, as though the sport's caused him a lot of pain and he wants out. So until I know Gervonta's here to stay, I'm not going to make any future predictions for Gervonta in terms of fighting. And that's not Gervonta versus Keyshawn, that's Gervonta versus anyone. I wait to see what Gervonta does after the Lamont Roach fight. Until then, Gervonta for me is out. Loma at 37 looks like he doesn't want to do it anymore. And I don't blame Loma, he's had a hard career. He's obviously been through a lot in terms of his country personally in the last sort of 12 to 18 months. So many injuries. I just don't think Loma fights Keyshawn. I think more realistically, a fight is like Frank Martin. I think Frank Martin's a realistic fight. Him and Keyshawn have gone sort of back and forth every time they see each other. There's a bit of spark there. And I think we will get the Teo fight, but not next. So I think more realistic is Frank Martin, which isn't a bad fight, as your first defense, and then we'll see what he does after that. But it's a shame because I do think you potentially have the 4 best single champions in a division. I mean, Gervonta, Shakur, Loma, and Keyshawn, that's frightening. But I can't see any of those fights happening. And that's the problem with the lightweight division right now.
He says that Andy Cruz needs to do a little more work, show him a little more, to warrant the fight. He is 0-4 against Andy Cruz in the amateur scene. Of course, the last time they fought, 2021 gold medal, and he dropped that fight. I would love to see that fight next. I do agree with the sentiment. Wait, it gets bigger, but I also think it's pretty darn big right now. You know, maybe it's not as big as it could be down the line, but who knows what happens down the line. Strike while the iron's hot. I don't know. It didn't seem like he was all that into it. It might be gamesmanship. Of course, that's Top-Ranked Matchroom. They've worked together. Not the best of friends, but they have worked together. To see it next, but I agree with you. I don't think any of those fights happen next. Maybe back end. He says he wants to fight 3 more times in 2025. So let's see what happens.
They all say that. They all say that.
Well, listen,
every fighter seems to say that, and every fighter gives you 2 or 3 fights max. How many times I've spoken to fighters like this year 5 times, and then I catch up with them in December. Politics. I mean, give me 2 or 3 because that's kind of what I expect right now. The Andy Cruz one, I agree. Why wait till it gets bigger? Let's just do it. All this waiting, and then something happens. I mean, Andy Cruz, it's still early as a pro for him, but he's so good he can almost jump the ladder, if you like, and jump the queue. I just wonder if Keyshawn would be willing to give a world title fight to Andy Cruz, of all people, next, knowing there is a bit of scar tissue there. I do wonder.
I would love to see it. Now, on Saturday evening, you were in Manchester at the beautiful and brand new Co-op Live. It's still brand new. It's still less than a year old. And you saw the big one between Jack Catterall and Arnold Barbosa Jr. It was Matchroom versus Golden Boy. And this for the interim super lightweight title. And in the end, I have to say, much to my surprise, Arnold Barbosa Jr. walked away with the decision. Now, I say to my surprise, not because I didn't think that he did enough to win the fight. In fact, as I was watching it, I thought he did enough. I just felt like he wasn't going to get the decision on Catterall's home turf. Who did you score it for? Who do you think deserved to win this fight?
I scored it for Barbosa, and I think Barbosa deserved to win the fight, maybe by a couple of rounds. And I was ringside with Tony Bellew, and we were actually both saying, we hope Barbosa gets it. not because we don't want Jack to become a world champion and go on to do good things, because, Jack should have been undisputed a few years ago, but because we don't want the narrative of we can't get a victory away from home. So I think it's actually very, very good that the judges scored it to Barboza, because the last thing I want is for Barboza to go online and say, you know what, it's corrupt, never go to the UK for a fight, it's rubbish, and for Oscar to then do a clapback Thursday and talk about British scoring. So I was happy that the right man won. And I think Barboza, look, I mean, this is a guy that, again, has a great backstory. Is coming off the win against Jose Ramirez. It's funny because me and you did his fight in the Barclays, where we thought we lost to Sean McComb.
Oh, yeah.
He seems to have wiped that away now. And I think he's going to be elevated to world champion. I think Teofimo is not going to fight him. So I think he's going to be a world champion. And look, credit to him. To go into someone's backyard and beat them in their backyard, you have to give that guy plaudits. And not just anyone, but Jack Captrell, who I think is a top 5 140-pounder. So credit to him. Credit to Jack as well. Jack will come again. 140-pounder division is stacked. It's deep. So he'll get another fight. But I think all the plaudits need to go to the man that came away from home and got the victory.
All right, so congratulations to Arnold Barboza. Commiserations to Jack Catterall, as they say. We look forward to seeing how he bounces back from here. Let's turn our attention to this coming weekend. Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, the big one. You've been there for a couple of days now. And earlier today, Ade, we had the grand arrivals. I love the grand arrivals. It's something that we don't get in MMA. We really only get it in boxing. There's a lot of pomp and circumstance, and you can't do it for every card. But certainly, if there was ever a card that warranted having grand arrivals, it's this freaking card. And so let's do a breakdown here. What do we got? Callum Smith, tell me what you saw here. How are we ranking these fits, these looks? What do you think?
I've never really done a fit check when it comes to boxing. I mean, if I were, I don't know about Joshua Buat's fit check there, but he wants to be comfortable. He wants to be comfortable, and everyone wears a tracksuit, and Buatsi comes in sort of local attire. Agit Kabayel, who I think's been very disrespected by a lot of fight fans. I think Agit Kabayel's a fantastic fighter.
Looks like he's going to the golf course or something.
For some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Jili Zhang. Jili Zhang looks like he could play sort of the mobster in a big movie. He's got that kind of look about him.
Love
6'6", nearly 300 pounds. It's fantastic. Who's that? Is that Israel Madrimov?
Yes. No, Virgil Ortiz.
No, Virgil Ortiz.
Yes.
Apologies. Oh, Virgil's in one hell of a fight against Madrimov, by the way. There's Madrimov. I like that fit. I'm trying to get that tracksuit off him. I was like, look, give me a tracksuit. I'll take that tracksuit all day long.
All
Madrimov's
business.
such a fantastic fighter. All business, Madrimov. Hamza Shiraz, looking to become Britain's 11th middleweight world champion. Won't be easy against Carlos Adames. Again, these are all main eventers. There comes Carlos Adames as well, the current WBC middleweight champion. Almost comes in a bit angry because he's almost getting overlooked a little bit because obviously everything over here has all been Hamza. Shakur Stevenson, I like that Reebok top.
Yeah, that is
old
old
school. I like
school.
it, very old school. That's old school. I mean, you know your style, Ariel.
Yes,
Joseph
sir.
Parker, he must have been freezing.
Was it that cold?
Do it.
How cold was it?
It was a bit chilly. I mean, I had a jumper on, I had my jacket. I certainly wasn't doing a no socks like Joseph Parker. And then the big man, the man who's on one hell of a run right now, Daniel Dubois. Look at him. I mean, he's ready to go. Oh,
what about this move right here? What about this move from Bivol right here? Checking the phone. What's he checking?
He's checking. I sent him a message saying, Bivol, you need to start walking. You're running late. So maybe he was checking that. I don't know what he was doing. And then this man who's just the most intimidating fighter since, I don't know, peak Sergei Kovalev. He's so scary. I find him frightening. And that's a great main event. I mean, that's the cherry on top, what is a fantastic fight card.
I love his logo, Artur Beterbiev. You know, he's one of our own. Artur Beterbiev, he's one of our own. I say that as a proud Montrealer, so I can claim Artur. I know you're a Bivol guy.
I thought it was from Russia.
No.
Apologies.
No.
I thought it was from Russia. Is he not Russian?
No. He lives and trains in La Belle Province. He is one of our own. He is a product of the Montreal fight scene. Conspicuous by his absence once again for the second time, it seems, Kid Austin, Floyd Schofield, wasn't at the kickoff presser back in January and not here today. Not sure what's going on. All I hope, Ade, because you'll recall when this card was officially announced, I said this was the fight that I was most looking forward to. I felt like there was the most pressure on Shakur's shoulders. In fact, just yesterday, speaking to Keyshawn, who's a very good friend and training partner of Shakur's, I said, I can't wait for this fight because there are the most question marks surrounding Shakur on this card. After the last two performances, since moving over to Matchroom, remember, it seems like he moved over to Matchroom 2 years ago. He hasn't fought for them once yet. And I just hope and pray that this fight goes off because I want to see what the February 2025 version of Shakur is. And I also feel like he's on the cusp of some pretty damn big fights. I feel like if he does something spectacular on Saturday, he will get the attention of one Tank Davis. He's fighting 2 weeks later. All due respect to Keyshawn, Shakur probably gets that fight before him. I feel like we could finally see that fight happen. And we've seen the likes of Eddie Hearn and Turki Al-Sheikh himself talk about this fight. I'm just getting a little worried with now 2 no-shows from Kid Austin.
Yeah, and you know what's funny about this fight? It's the one fight on the card where, you know, the others are kind of 50-50, 60-40. This is the one that really swings to Shakur Stevenson. But all of a sudden,
we may have lost Ade there. We got him back.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Yeah,
you're
Shakur's
back.
Am I back? Oh,
yep.
Thank you. I was saying, this is the one fight where, you know, all the other fights, you kind of are 50-50, 60-40, but this is the one where, you know, Shakur's the big favorite. But all of a sudden, as we've got closer, people are starting to say, okay, let's see what Floyd can do, right? Floyd's a lot bigger than Shakur Stevenson. Shakur's got the injury. So look, fingers crossed, there is no issue. Some fighters don't turn up for these grand arrivals. Some fighters like to cut weight. Some fighters like to stay in the hotel. So I'm all fingers crossed that there is no issue and this fight happens on Saturday.
And could I ask, I mean, you've been to all these big Riyadh fights. You were just there in late December for Usyk Fury 2. Do you feel any difference? Do you feel, you know, the interest level, the knowledge, the excitement, the buzz, the acceptance? Do you feel it changing, growing over time? Or do they all kind of feel the same?
No, this one feels big. I mean, they all, to an extent, feel big because they all are very big. But this one, I can kind of hear the noise of people that are coming over. Like a lot of people have traveled over for this one. Just fight fans. And not necessarily fans of any particular fighter, just fight fans because, again, it's been labeled the greatest fight card ever. And people just want to say, I was there for it. So this one feels slightly bigger than some of the others that we've seen recently in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And you can understand why. When you just go down the list, and Callum Smith versus Joshua Buatsi is the first fight walk-in, I mean, that's ridiculous. That headlines a card in Liverpool, headlines a card in London, and it's the first fight walk-in. I think everyone just wants to be around for this fight card. So it was kind of busy at the grand arrivals, which it never really is. But I think from Thursday onwards, it's going to be packed. I think it's going to be really packed, and I can't wait for it.
Well, if it isn't Shakur Stevenson, the fighter that I'm most looking forward to seeing in action on Saturday is Joseph Parker. I have fallen in love with Joseph Parker. I think he's one of the nicest human beings that I've ever come across in life, let alone combat sports. He is a gentle giant, and he's done a fantastic job. Do me a favor, after our show, go check out his YouTube channel. He's been putting out these daily video blogs. They are wholesome. They are well-produced. It's tremendous stuff leading up to this fight. Earlier today, I had a chance to speak to George Lockhart, who has been by his side for the last 3 years throughout this winning streak. And it's just a great story. And he told him Joseph told George about a year ago, George asked him, this is the story that he told us, like, give me a goal. Give me something that you want to achieve in life. And as he put it, no joke, he said, I want to become the IBF heavyweight champion. And I asked, why specifically the IBF? He says he doesn't know. But as you know, he's literally days away now from fighting for that belt. And so I know you got a chance to speak to the great Joseph Parker. Set it up for us. Take us home. Let us know about this interview.
Yeah, I'm so happy you started with Joseph first because I agree with you. I think he is the nicest fighter I think I've probably ever met. And I've met thousands now, but he's so good. But aside from the niceness, there is a mean streak to him as well. Don't be fooled by the smile. When he gets in the ring, that guy is scary. And I feel that came across when I spoke to him yesterday. This is what Joseph Parker had to say to me in the lead up to what is, for him, the biggest fight of his life. Joseph, how are you, my man?
Good.
Good. I was thinking about your journey from Andy Ruiz, 2016, to now. Compare the Joseph Parker that was world champion back in 2016 to this guy trying to become world champion February 22nd.
It's quite hard to compare because the Joseph Parker in 2016 winning the championship of the world, there was no real want to fight. There was no goals of fighting for more belts or being undisputed. No, it was just my goal in life back then was to become champion of the world, and that was it. I wasn't thinking about other bouts or being undisputed.
Yeah.
And but the fight I am now, or the person, or the father, husband, whatever, is way different. You know, and now I respect the position I'm in way more, and I actually love what I do every day now. Back then I probably didn't love it as much, but now I do.
Yeah.
And I show that I love the sport by the way that I train and by the way that I put in the work.
How would you describe the journey from then to now? Like some big wins, some losses? How would you describe that journey?
Listen, it's been a journey.
Yeah.
A lot of ups, a lot of downs, a lot of questions, why I wasn't getting the results I was looking for. And all of that has led to this point and getting this team that I have now.
Bit of a super team you've created.
I feel like this team that I have is the perfect team and a super team. And I feel like this team that I have, I wouldn't be in this position if it wasn't for the team that I have. Andy Lee, George Lockhart, and everyone else that's here.
How good is Daniel Dubois, do you think, right now?
I feel like Daniel Dubois has got this sense of unstoppableness with him. Fights he's put on, the performances, and the way that the results and the way that he's gotten these performances, these wins.
You've been surprised by these performances? Like
I have.
Yeah.
I've been surprised. Yeah. I didn't pick him to win any of the last 3 fights that he's had.
Miller, Hrgovic, AJ.
I didn't think he was going to win those fights, but he proved me wrong, and he proved everyone else wrong, and that's why he's got this confidence and this belief and this that he backs himself because of these performances.
You've been in big fights. AJ, massive fight, stadium. Andy Ruiz back home, New Zealand, that was a big fight as well. Joe Joyce was the big fight. Is this the biggest one because it's the next one? Is this now the biggest for you?
This is the biggest fight in my career, and this is the hardest fight because it's the opportunity to fight for the championship of the world again, but also because of the opponent that I have and the way that he's performed. That's why I say this is the toughest fight.
I've asked most of the fighters that I've done this with, I'm going to ask you as well. This is billed as the greatest fight card ever, right? I mean, you look at the fights, it's 50-50 fights all the way down the line. You're on the greatest fight card ever. A lot of people in their head think this is the people's main event, right? We've seen Beterbiev, Bivol already. What does it mean for you in that journey to be on the greatest fight card ever?
Man, it's the opportunity to fight on this card and to fight for the championship of the world and to be here with my team in Saudi Arabia. I am ready to perform. And again, I respect the position I'm in, I appreciate it, and I'm grateful for it, but there's still a lot of work to be done, and that's to go out there and win.
It's going to be a physically tough fight, right? Both of you can punch, both of you can fight inside, both of you can do a bit of everything. How do you get your mindset prepared for what you know is going to be a difficult night? Like, how do you kind of get ready for that?
I'm ready for it now because I've done everything there is.
Yeah.
We've had all the sparring, like all the work that you've done. That's what helps you mentally prepare as well.
Yeah.
Like when you've done everything there is and you can't do anything more to prepare. Mentally, I'm just like, I'm ready to go in there, leave it all out there, and the result will take care of itself.
You've done a couple of Riyadh season cards now, right? I mean, you caused the biggest upset when you beat Wilder. There were plans for AJ Wilder. There's a lot of talk now about Usyk, maybe Dubois too. I'm guessing you want to disrupt all those plans as well now.
I just want to go out
disruptor.
there. I want to go out there, yeah.
That's the new name. Yeah.
I just want to go out there and perform.
Yeah.
I just want to go out there and showcase and put on a great display of boxing. What I know I can do, what Andy knows, what George knows, what our whole team knows I can do. I just want to go out there and perform. I know there's big fights out there and I know there's other names and other bouts, but none of that matters unless we get this right. And I am going to get this right.
I think personally, for me, I think this is the fight of the night. I think this is the one where everyone seems to have varying opinions. As soon as it was made, everyone was like, ooh, no one knows how this is going to go. And I think that's testament to what you've done with Andy Lee, with George, your whole team, and how good Daniel's been as well, to be fair. So I think it's a 50-50 fight. And good luck, Joseph. Good luck, my man.
Thank you very much.
No problem, brother. Thank you.
The big Oos himself. I love that guy. I love that chat as well. I think it's important to remind people, Ade, he's just 33. Maybe he looks a little older. He's been around for about 13 years. He's just 33. This guy isn't past his prime or towards the end of his career. And his coach, George Lockhart, told me 3rd round TKO. He said he has never been more confident in anything in his life. His big guy, his big oos, is getting the big stoppage on Saturday.
You know what? When he talks, look, I've done so many of those interviews, and sometimes when a fighter's saying stuff, you want to believe it, but you're not quite sure. They're just sort of preaching almost to themselves. When Joseph was speaking to me, I was like, yeah, I believed everything he was saying. Because I do think this is a much better Joseph than the one that became world champion against Andy Ruiz nearly a decade ago. This is a better Joseph than that fought Anthony Joshua. This is a much better Joseph than that fought Joe Joyce and lost. And I have to be honest with you, when I saw the beating he took from Joe Joyce, I thought that might be that. So the fact that he has been rebuilt, if you like, by George Lockhart and Andy Lee, and by himself, is testament to where he is. Honestly, this is a cracking fight. It really is. I think you've got the number 2 heavyweight in the world, Daniel Dubois, and I really put Joseph Parker as number 3. So this is number 2 versus number 3 for the right to fight number 1. It doesn't get better than that, Ariel.
And you know, I love Joseph Parker, but I do think that Daniel Dubois deserves a lot of credit and probably isn't getting enough credit for taking this fight. He could have conceivably waited for the winner of Usyk Fury and said, I'm fighting that guy. I got the IBF title. I've done enough. I just knocked out AJ at Wembley. My fight, you know, you can spin the narrative, was controversial, this, that. He could have waited. Instead, he's fighting one of the hottest heavyweights who's coming off 2 tremendous wins. Not to mention the other wins before that, but 2 big wins over Wilder and Zhilei Zhang. He deserves a lot of credit for that. And I know you spoke to Daniel Dubois. We'll get to that conversation in a moment. But let me ask you this, and I don't know if it's a real thing, and some people have, you know, differing viewpoints on this one. And so I'm wondering where you stand. Since his last fight, since Joseph's last fight back in March of 2024, the same card that AJ knocked out Francis Ngannou, Dubois has fought twice. He beat Filip Hrgović, and then he beat, of course, Anthony Joshua in September. It's almost going to be a year between fights for Joseph Parker, and he wasn't hurt. He was just kind of waiting. Remember, we were upset that he wasn't on that December card. Do you think the quote-unquote inactivity to Dubois' activity, 2 fights in that period, will favor Dubois, or is that just something us media guys like to talk about?
No. 100% it favors Dubois. It 100% does. I mean, I think even Team Parker would admit that. They probably wouldn't admit it out in the public, but, you know, between themselves, they'll say, okay, we would have preferred to have stayed busy. I mean, a busy fighter is a better fighter. I think we saw that even in the run that Joseph Parker had. Joseph Parker had a run of 5 fights, I believe, in about 16 months. Hence why we got the best Joseph Parker we've seen. Daniel Dubois is now having that run as well. You got to stay active. If you're not injured, I think every fighter should be fighting 3 or 4 times a year if you're not injured. I get it, fight camps are tough, but I think we've started to see better performances from guys that stay busy. So it 100% favors Daniel Dubois. Daniel Dubois is on a roll right now. He wants to literally go from fight, rest, gym, fight. That's what he wants to do. And I spoke to Frank Warren about this a few months ago as well, and he says he wants to keep Dubois busy. Dubois is 27, and he's ready to fight. Fighters don't want to stay on the shelf, and I think it's wrong that Joseph Parker was almost put on the shelf. How can you have a fight against Wilder and Zhang, and then not get a fight? It kind of made no sense to me. So, look, it might affect him, especially in the latter rounds, because he's a bit heavier now, Joseph Parker, and you do wonder what's it going to be like when, you know, you're having to fight for 12 rounds against a hungry, young Daniel Dubois. But I think in the early rounds, maybe that's why George Lockhart's predicted a 3rd round knockout. I think Joseph Parker is going to be frightening. I think he's going to be so dangerous.
All right, so I know you spoke to your boy, Daniel Dubois, your fellow countryman. I hope this is an unbiased chat, all right? I don't want to see any favoritism.
This is really bad of you, Ariel.
Okay, I'm sorry.
This is really bad. Why? I know you waved the Joseph Parker flag, but I am neutral.
Okay.
I am on the fence with this one. And as you are correctly stating, I did speak to the great Daniel Dubois, who is now super confident. It comes across in his interviews as well. It's not just how it plays out in the ring. And this is what he had to say about fighting the great Joseph Parker. Here we go. Another defense of your IBF heavyweight title.
Yeah.
A tough one as well, Joseph Parker. Yeah, looking forward to it?
You say that, it's tough, but, you know, I'm ready to fight now.
You're always ready to fight. That's the one thing you always say to me. I'm ready to fight.
It's fight week now.
Yeah.
You know, the people want to be entertained, and I'm ready. This is the entertainment business, and let's go.
Does it change for you that it's fight week? Obviously, we did a face-off, about a month ago? When you know the fight's closely approaching, does your mindset change? Like, okay, we're going to war.
When we got here, I feel like it's on now. When you're in camp and you're just training, week in, week out, you can lose. It doesn't feel the same, but now we're here, it's locked in.
I guess now that sparring's done, training's done, you've ticked every box. This is the Daniel Dubois we're going to see Saturday 22nd.
That's right.
Yeah. What does it mean, Daniel, where you are right now in your career? Like, you're almost now the hunted. You were the hunter for a long time. You were calling out all the big names. Now they're all hunting you down. That's a bit different.
Yeah, it's what we're in the business for. It's good, you know. It's good to be people want to fight you, because before it's hard to get fights when you're a puncher and everything. So, you know, I've got the belt now, ready to defend that.
I think the run you're on, and I've said this a few times to anyone watching, I think the run you're on is one of the best runs I've seen in recent years. And I even put the Usyk fight in there, because I thought for a few rounds, fantastic against Usyk.
Yeah.
Jarrell Miller, 100 pounds bigger than you.
Yeah.
Hergovich the bully, talking about you a lot.
Yeah.
Then AJ.
Yeah.
That run there, and now Joseph Parker, you must be proud. I mean, you must sit back and think, rah, what's the run?
I love it. I love the progress and where we're going.
Yeah.
It just feels like it's just, you know, the tunnel. You know, this is where you got to go, and these are the guys I got to beat. And yeah, I'm really excited. You know, want to, you know, put in a clinical performance, devastating performance on Saturday.
Once you knew how good you were, it takes time. You're still, I mean, you're only 27 now.
Yeah, yeah.
Some fighters, it takes them until their 30s to realize they've got everything. You're now realizing. How difficult is a loss to you? Like, you know, those two defeats, Joe Joyce, Usyk, how difficult is that?
I guess it's learning from the past, from your mistakes now. That's what, you know, that's what sport is all about. Sport, boxing, any other sport is learning from it. And I've done the same. I've learned from the past, and now I'm a man of the future.
Yeah, you're the man right now. There's no two ways. You're one of the top dogs with you and Usyk, right? The top dogs of the division. Again, if you were to beat Parker, right, and I've got to say that as the neutral here, potentially there's Usyk down the line. Do you think about Usyk at all, or is it just Parker?
Yeah, no predictions before, after, or whatever. It's just focused, tunnel vision on for Saturday now.
Yeah, and look, so far so good. Of the wins that you've had recently, so the Hergovich, Miller, and AJ, which one for you mentally was the biggest?
They were all big wins. I feel like just good tests, good challenges. I loved the Miller fight. Just it's exciting and brought the best out of me. Hergovich fight was a good fight. Two top guys, you know, guys, you know, that not everyone wants to jump in the ring with. So it was just good learning, good building for me. Yeah.
Was you surprised how good you were against AJ? Going into that fight, a lot of people had him as a favourite, right? You were the underdog, it's true.
Yeah.
Were you surprised how good you were? Like, you were exceptional.
I was. I was surprised that, I don't know, while I was in there, I'm glad I switched on and just did what we had to do and stayed sharp for that. You know, I proved myself there, and I've gone through that barrier, that barrier that might have been holding me back before. So now I'm champion. I've got to just push on now and push.
Yeah, that barrier is done. I mean, anyone that speaks about that barrier is still about, okay, Daniel Dubois, when the going gets tough, that's nonsense.
Yeah.
I saw the going get tough against Jarrell Miller.
Yeah.
And you push straight through. Hergovich hit you some good right hands. You push through that as well. So that crap needs to be kind of put to bed immediately for me, because I think right now you are, as I said, one of the best heavyweights in the world. Joseph Parker, how good do you think Joseph Parker is right now?
Wherever however good he is, I'm gonna be better. Yeah. I'm gonna be better.
Former world champion as well.
Yeah.
Wants another crack.
Yeah, I can't let him take mine. You're gonna have to, you know, I'm leaving with my belt. That's my whole objective, my mindset.
Final couple. Do you feel like this is the main event? A lot of people, don't break my camera, Daniel. Please.
Be careful, I'm on full now.
Do you feel like this is the main event? A lot of people are saying this is like the people's main event, right?
Yeah.
We've seen Bivol, Beterbiev already. This is a heavyweight title fight. And normally a heavyweight title fight should be the main event. Yeah.
I feel like it should be the main event. We're going to steal the show. I'm going to steal the show. And show why I'm the best, and just keep building, keep climbing that ladder, and go all the way to the top. And just, get through Saturday. I'm just focused on Saturday right now.
No, you are, and rightly so. You've got your team there as well, and I know they're going to keep you focused. I think you're one of the most exciting fighters to watch in the world, any weight class. And I think the fans can't wait to see what you can do on Saturday as well. Good luck, Daniel.
Thank you.
Cheers, brother. Thank you.
Great. I love a Daniel Dubois chat because he makes you work, let's be honest, but he's just such a sweetheart. He is a sweetheart. He is a gentle giant. In some respects, a lot like Joseph Parker. My two favorite parts of that chat, number one, him being like a gentle giant and hitting your camera and just seeing him smile. But also, you see a little bit of the fire when he says, we should be the main event. Remember, I said that. I said that when they announced this card. As crazy as it does sound, I actually screwed up when I said it. But I do like him saying, you know what, I'm the man. I should be at the top of the bill.
Yeah, and I love that. I mean, he's coming to his own right now. Again, I think because he was kind of put in front of us so young, we've seen all the problems, all the things that you kind of don't really see from fighters so young because they don't fight on big cards. Daniel was kind of propelled into the front of our vision, if you like, so early. So we've seen all the mistakes up close and personal. And I think that's quite hard for a young fighter. I think mentally he's come through all of that now. I remember watching the Jarrell Miller fight, which was here in Saudi Arabia. And the Daniel Dubois of old, I think maybe would have quit in that fight. Maybe it would have got a bit too tough when the going did get tough. But he almost came through a wall, a barrier, as he kind of alluded to in that interview. And I think he's now opened the floodgates. And now I think we're seeing the Daniel Dubois that Frank was talking about nearly a decade ago. I think we're seeing that guy now. I think he's there. I think he's the real deal. We know about the power. He's got great hand speed. I think that surprised everyone when he fought AJ. He can take a punch, but I think the biggest thing's up here. He now believes in himself. The confidence is there, and he thinks he can beat anyone. And that includes Usyk. And I wouldn't rule against it. I think right now he is one of the best heavyweights out there. And I think with everything he's got, all the attributes, he's a problem.
Take me back to November 2020, Church House in London, England. I remember watching that show, and I remember the likes of Carl Frampton, who I love, and David Hay, who I love, absolutely kill Daniel Dubois for, quote-unquote, quitting in that Joe Joyce fight. And afterwards, everyone said, no heart, no guts, he quit, forget the broken orbital, he's a quitter. Take me back to that time. What was Ariel Oladipo saying? Were you saying he was a quitter, or were you saying this is a little too harsh?
A little too harsh. A little too harsh. And the reason I was saying it is because I would never do what he's doing. So I always felt it was even harsher coming from pro boxers. And I think I mentioned this to you at Wembley when we were on the stage. I was like, there's one thing getting critiqued from, your average Joe online, saying something on Twitter, fair. When it's coming from fellow professionals, I think they went a bit too far. And obviously right now they're eating humble pie because he's been able to come through it. He had a broken orbital bone. I mean, this thing about quitting when you can't see and your eye looks like it's fractured and feels fractured. And if you continue, you might lose sight of that. Take a knee. What's the issue? I don't understand it. So look, I mean, he's come through that. Again, that was a 23-year-old, 23 at the time, having to come through that, having to come through all the stick, having to come through all fellow pros saying he's a quitter. He's dealt with a lot, has Daniel Dubois. That's why I'm so happy that all of a sudden, those same people that said he was a quitter are now giving him these flowers. So look, he's done a lot. I'm really happy for where he is. The problem is I love Joseph Parker so much as well. So this is one of those fights where I really don't even want to see it. But I'm just going to fence it on this one because I appreciate both of them so much.
Regardless of the Joyce fight, regardless of the Usyk fight, did you see this coming from Dubois? Well, like when you first started hearing about him and seeing him climb the ranks, did you think he could be a serious player at heavyweight, or did you have your doubts early on?
No, I didn't. I didn't think he could become a serious heavyweight, no.
He has exceeded expectations.
Way exceeded. I thought maybe, a solid top 10 heavyweight. I knew about the punch power. Okay, I thought, okay, cool, punch power. I heard from people that sparred him that punch power was like an 8 or 9, but most heavyweights have 8 or 9 punch power. So I thought, okay, that will be enough to get you a certain level. But do you have the foot speed? Do you have the intelligence? Do you have the ring craft? I didn't think those things were there. But again, I was judging him because he was so young. And I mistakenly judged him, knowing that those things only really come with age and maturity.
He's now at the age where you're supposed to have those things. It's only the very rare athletes that get those things so young, and that's across the board in all sports. He's now 27, and he has maturity. He has ring craft. He's been to the bottom of the bottom depths of what it's like when people attack you. So he's got that experience as well now. He knows how to deal with it. He knows how to shut off social media. He's now the full package, but I'd be lying if I said I knew he was going to be this. I didn't. I thought he'd be a good European level heavyweight. Oh boy, I was so wrong, because he is now, and I've said this, the second best heavyweight in the world.
Just last week, we saw Alexander Usyk do a bunch of media in London. I think he was on the London Eye, by the way. Like, was he going like stop to stop, talking to different media members? Were you one of those media members? Were you there as well?
I wasn't invited, and I'm disgusted.
Yeah,
I'm disgusted. That
Are you on the outs with
wasn't
Usyk?
invited. No, I mean, I don't know what's going on. I mean, he's beating up my guys, so maybe I'm not quite sure. Right, it might be bad luck for him, but no, I think Tony Bellew was there. I think others. I think TalkSport were doing a few things as well. I mean, like anytime I get to talk to Usyk, it's a blessing, because I think I'm talking to one of the all-time greats, not just a great of this era. I'm talking about an all-time great. But I think he was doing like a whistle-stop tour of London, and obviously he mentioned, I love it. I think most fighters should do it. Like, don't disappear when you don't have a fight. Like, I hate when fighters just vanish and only come out when fights are made. Like, talk to us year round. And Alexander Usyk's now become so comfortable in front of the camera, he talks for everyone.
Yeah, and it was appropriate timing with this fight coming up this week. And I thought, obviously, what was most interesting about what he said was, I have 2 fights left. And we all kind of started to suspect that he doesn't have 10 more fights left, but he did say 2. And one of the fights, by the way, that he mentioned was Alex Pereira. Before we get to Pereira, I do want to ask, do you feel confident? Because I really can't see any other scenario which says the opposite. Do you feel confident that the winner of this fight will fight Usyk later on this year? I say yes. I think it makes all the sense in the world. Either you get a fresh matchup against Joseph Parker, which seems to be what he's craving, or you get the rematch with Dubois, and I don't want to necessarily say right the wrong, but definitively say you're better than him. There's a great story there. There's controversy, all that stuff and more. Both options seem great. Feels like a no-brainer.
Yeah, no-brainer. He 100% fights the winner. Barring something crazy, Alexander Usyk will fight Daniel Dubois or Joseph Parker again. And look, I mean, Dubois deserves it. I know a lot of people say, oh, we've seen Dubois already, I want to see Parker. No, Dubois deserves it. If you're Dubois and you lose to Usyk, and then Usyk's team are like, okay, go away and get some victories and then come back. I mean, if his victories are Miller, Hergovich, AJ, and Parker, you deserve to run it back against Alexander Usyk again. And if it's Joseph Parker, then he deserves it as well. And really and truly, those are the only real options for Alexander Usyk. It's not the winner of Bacoli versus F.A. Jagba. It's not the winner of Zhili Zhang versus Caballero. It's the winner of, I said, number 2 versus number 3. So that makes sense. My intrigue, Ariel, and this isn't overlooking, a Dubois-Parker fight, is who is number 2? Like, I can't fathom a number 2 that makes any sense right now.
Poatan.
Get out of here, man.
Do you say get out of here because you think the UFC would not allow it, or because you think it'd be that big of a mismatch? He mentioned it, by the way. It's not usually the boxer that mentions the MMA fighter. It's the MMA fighter who mentions the boxer. I was surprised. I'd love to see it. I just don't see the UFC making it happen. There's too much for them to lose in this. Their guy can get clowned or get knocked out or not look good. If it's an MMA fight, they're all in. But in boxing, I just think they say, Usyk's not big enough. It's not worth it. Let's keep. They don't want him to go fight heavyweight, for goodness sakes, let alone fight a guy like Usyk in boxing.
Yeah, I mean, I say get out of here not because of the UFC stopping it. Get out of here because, I mean, I love Alex Pereira. I think he's fantastic. We and you have already spoken about the lack of stars in the UFC. He's clearly not that. He is a star. But I think in the boxing realm, Alexander Usyk would just, it would be embarrassing.
Yeah.
And I know Pereira's got the greatest left hook I've ever seen, right? Since Roy Jones Jr., his left hook's incredible. But in boxing, again, we're talking Alexander Usyk here, who's just beat Tyson Fury, who became undisputed. This isn't an Alexander Usyk that's war-torn and can't still fight. Alexander Usyk would just annihilate him. Honestly, I think it would annihilate him. So for me, no, not Pereira.
Ade, we do have some breaking news. Frank, can we get the breaking news music?
Uh-oh.
There it is. You know, it's a big deal when we break out the breaking news music. This happening right now, and this, again, an indication that we are live and we react to things in real time. A developing story that we talked about at the beginning of the show continues to develop. The Ring magazine has just reported that they've learned that the WBC lightweight champion Shakur Stevenson is hunting, quote-unquote, for a late replacement. Floyd Schofield has fallen ill and was pulled from the fight by the British Boxing Board of Control. They just tweeted this out moments ago. There it is, according to Ring, which we must mention, is owned by Turki Al-Sheikh. So one would say a reliable source. According to the Ring as well, and according to their reporting, they say, according to a source, two of the options being considered include the Moroccan fighter Moussa Gholam and Josh Padley. And so I guess the good news here is they're looking for a very late replacement. Shakur is not left on the sidelines, but this fight, which had so much juice to it, so much back and forth, and all the drama and all the mystery surrounding the no-shows back in January and today, now officially, painfully seems to be off at A.
That's crazy. Honestly, it's crazy. It's so disappointing because this was probably the only fight on the card where there was a bit of heat. Like, all the other fighters are quite respectful of each other, which, look, ultimately means nothing. They're going to go and fight. But I do like a bit of heat between fighters. When the fight was initially made, I was like, okay, Floyd's not ready. Oscar tried to block the fight. Floyd and his dad pushed the fight through. And so to be here on the 11th hour, if you like, for the fight to be pulled or for Floyd to be injured is a bit disappointing. I will say this. I don't know if Floyd and his father are used to the British Boxing Board of Control's rules. There will be a weight check as you lead up to the fight. I did see Floyd yesterday. I was like, wow, you were big. So I do wonder if there's an issue with him trying to cut as much weight to make the weight check. But look, this is just conspiracy theories that I'm chucking around. But it's ultimately disappointing. As for the names, I've never, ever heard of the Moroccan guy. And look, that's just me being honest. I've never heard. Josh Padley, I know. Obviously, Josh Padley caused the upset beating Mark Chamberlain. I mean, what weight is Josh Padley going to have to make? I mean, does Shakur stop cutting weight now and this fight all of a sudden become a 140 or a 147 fight? I mean, I understand the want to keep Shakur on the card, but I don't know anyone that can come in on 3 days' notice and be in shape. I always say fighters to stay in shape.
Yeah.
Right? You know, stay ready, don't get ready. But not with 3 days. I'm more talking a couple of weeks. 3 days for anyone fighting Shakur Stevenson who is in shape is just going to be a crazy mismatch. Honestly, it's going to be a crazy mismatch. And I love Josh Padley. I hope he gets the opportunity because, again, he came and beat Mark Chamberlain, which was an upset on the Wembley card. But, I mean, what's he walking around at now? I mean, these guys normally cut down. Josh Padley's a lightweight. These guys normally walk around about 170 and cut down to that weight. I don't know where he's at right now.
Well, and I can add to it, I actually just messaged Turki Al-Sheikh, and he did confirm that the fight is, in fact, off. And so I've invited him to come on the program.
Look at you.
Well, I'm trying to do my own reporting
just message
here.
him.
Wow. We're trying to do our own reporting
I'm going to message him as well. That's what we're doing.
Well, I mean, this is called journalism. Look it up. These things happen in the world of journalism. Well, I'll give it to you, maybe, for a price. But that is very disappointing. I am happy that at least they are trying, but not the circumstances that we all wanted. And worth noting, by the way, what a few months stretch for Floyd Schofield. A guy that a lot of people said was one of the top prospects in the sport, was supposed to fight Ashton Silve on July 20th on Netflix. Of course, that card gets postponed, right, because of the Mike Tyson ailment. Silve gets knocked out on July 20th by Lucas Body. Now that fight is off, and now here he is getting this massive opportunity, and he's off as well. And there's all kinds of drama surrounding it.
Spare a thought here for Joe Cordina. Remember, it was supposed to be Shakur Stevenson versus Joe Cordina. Yeah. Right? Shakur Stevenson got injured, and Joe Cordina's obviously sat, twiddling his thumbs. What am I doing? What am I doing? I'm surprised he's not been given a call here. I don't know if he would have taken the fight, but I'm surprised Joe Cordina has not been reached out. Like, Joe, what are you doing? Are you in shape? Are you ready to go?
It's Wednesday morning. It's Wednesday morning, for goodness sakes. I mean, if you're Joe, do you take that fight? Do you take that fight? Is it worth it on 3 days' notice? A loss here really sets you back.
It does, but I mean, remember, these fighters, this is their job. If you don't fight, you don't get paid. I mean, Joe's not been paid since the Kakache fight. He's been wanting to fight. He's been begging for a fight. He thought he was going to fight Shakur in October, and all of a sudden, nothing. So if I'm Joe, yes, you're right. I mean, it's 3-4 days notice, but now there's nothing to lose. I mean, before there was like, okay, but now you've got the built-in excuse. Oh, guys, I fought him on 4 days notice. Give me another go. It reminds me a bit of Jorge Masvidal, Kamaru Usman, the first fight. It reminds me of that. And then, okay, Jorge Masvidal got another chance because it's like, well, I fought you on a week's notice. Give me a longer camp. So Joe's got a built-in excuses. So I'm a bit disappointed that Joe wasn't given a call or an opportunity.
Well, let's see. Let's see how this materializes. I think we all just hope that I want to see Shakur move on. And it feels like he's been stuck in neutral with those two performances, with the move to Matchroom, with the injury himself. Get a win, move on, get a big fight later on this year at 135 pounds. So
do you think he should remain on the card?
Yes, 100%. Get him someone.
Okay.
Get him someone.
Okay, cool. Okay.
The Moroccan fellow, let's go. Padley's a great story. Let's go. The Wembley card had a couple of late replacements. Let's go. These things happen in the fight game.
Yeah. Agreed. And I always feel like, again, because of Riyadh season and the money, fighters should stay ready. If I'm a fighter, I'm just in the gym all the time.
100%, 1,000%. There's an opportunity to make some noise, to make a name for yourself. And for Shakur, let's be honest, the story of this fight was Shakur. Schofield added some spice to it, but I don't care if he was fighting you. I wanted to see Shakur fight under the Riyadh umbrella, under the Matchroom umbrella, and see this new version of him. So let's see. We're on the air for another 15 or so minutes, 20 minutes. Let's see if a new wrinkle comes our way. Let's turn our attention to the main event, Artur Beterbiev versus Dimitri Bivol 2. I maintain till this day, my thought is that Bivol won the fight oh so closely. I think you would agree as well back in October. The good news is we get to see it again in just a few days' time. You had a chance to speak to both of them. And so let us start with the challenger, the man who I know you hold near and dear to your heart, the great Dimitri Bivol.
This one feel different? Feels the same, different?
Little bit different.
Yeah.
A little bit more calm, I think.
Many people thought you won the first fight. Many people. Did you think you won the first fight?
I don't think about win or lose. I really think about I don't like my performance. I didn't do enough. I wasn't. I could do more. I know it. I could be 100% winner. You know, not like he win or lose. I don't need this. You know, win lose. He won or that one won. With this, it's not what I want to feel inside of me.
You just want to see the best Bivol.
I wanna do it like, yeah, he won 100% and no doubts. You know.
Was you happy with your performance overall? I thought
Of course not.
No, really. Even when you watch it back, you don't think you're doing good stuff?
No, there is some good stuff, but there is not enough for me to feel good.
Have you changed anything in training this time? Have you added anything different?
Yeah, little bit changed, more narrow, I think. Okay. Not wide, more narrow training.
A lot of people expected the first fight to be you the boxer, him the puncher.
Yeah.
But you showed that you can punch as well. You decided to stay in the pocket and punch with him. Was that always the plan?
It was some of the parts of the fight, but it's not the main thing where I have to get scores more, you know, because to stand and fighting against Beterbiev, it's kind of like 50-50 maximum for the opponent. But why you should choose 50-50 when you could choose something 60-40?
How much pressure on you for this one, Dimitri?
For this one?
Yeah.
I don't feel too much pressure. I feel less pressure than before.
Really? I mean, for you, your first defeat, I mean, you know what boxing's like, you know, second defeat, they already start saying, okay, what's going to happen with Dimitri next? You don't feel pressure that you have to win?
I don't care about it. I think about only I have to do my job very well and win this fight.
Do you visualize things? You know, some boxers, they visualize what's going to happen. Do you visualize what's going to happen?
Yeah, sometimes visualize some moments in the ring, how you're walking to the ring, how you're fighting, how you're resting. Yeah,
You're headlining on the greatest fight card ever. Like everyone has said this is the greatest fight card ever. You look at the names and it's incredible, 50-50 fights.
Agree.
Does that mean something to you? Like wow, I don't know, like this is incredible. Like, I'm going to be remembered forever because this is an incredible fight card.
You know, not now. In the future, I hope I will come back with my thoughts and I will think about it that, oh, I was in this huge event and I will feel something. But now, I don't need to waste my emotions for these things, you know.
Yeah.
I have to keep my emotions, gain it, and explode it in the ring.
You know, every time I've done 2 face-offs with you and Artur. I've interviewed you, I've interviewed Artur. There seems to be, there's respect there. There's respect because you're both very good boxers, you know how hard it is. But there seems to be an edge. Like, I don't know if it's a dislike, I don't know what it is. What is it with you and Artur?
I don't know, we just challenges maybe. And
is it something from the past when you guys were both in the Russian camp?
To be honest, when I was in national team, I was completely okay with him. We were shaking hands and no problem. We were not friends.
Yeah.
We were not, and I'm not sure that our character could be like.
Yeah, it's very different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't you shake hands though? Like when I say shake hands, why?
I can shake hands.
But he
I'm
doesn't
shaking
want to.
hands. I'm shaking with everybody, you know. Yeah. I'm a polite person.
But he says no all the time.
But once I heard that he said I don't want to shake his hand. Well, of course I will not ask like shaking hands. So no problem. I'm okay with this also, because it's not too important for me to shake his hand. But as a polite person, I'm trying to be polite and shaking hands with people whom I know and who knows me.
I think the first fight was one of the best technical fights I've seen in years. For me, it was the fight of the year. I have no idea how this second fight's going to play out. But if you say that that wasn't you 100%, I don't know what 100% Bivol is going to be.
Of course it wasn't. Of course it wasn't. And I have to be closer to my 100%. I have to even be 150%.
Oh, 150%.
I have to be, yeah.
It's like Superman.
Not Superman, just human.
Bivol, I wish you good luck, brother.
Thank you.
Good luck, my man. Thank you so much.
That's a great version of Dmitry Bivol, but Mr. Ariel Oladipo, did you not have Frazier, Clark, Fabio Wardley as your fight of the year?
I remember.
You said
there's so many.
WTF, mate.
So
you had it, the first one in March. You just told them it was your fight of the year. You lied straight to your guy's face.
I can't remember. Hey, enough of that anyway. Bivol's a great guy, isn't he?
He is great.
Bivol's a great guy. You know, when he says, like, he wasn't at 100%, he needs to go to 150%, I just like, what? Like the levels that these guys think they can go and how they can improve and how they watch fights and break them down and like, okay, that little bit there and this little bit there, I find fascinating. And look, Artur Beterbiev is exactly the same. When I spoke to Artur Beterbiev, he was a bit like that as well. He was like, no, it wasn't the best version of myself. I can do better. I'm like, you can do better? Anyway, enough of me talking about that interview. This is me speaking to the current undisputed 175-pound champion, Artur Beterbiev. Artur, how are you, my man?
Good, not bad.
Yeah. You know, you've already become undisputed. You've done it now. Will it feel the same if you do it again? Like the same excitement? You've already achieved everything you want to achieve.
For fight, yes, the same. Like, you know, that time I want to grab this all belts, like, you know. Now I want to defend them.
How was the knee, the first fight? How did it feel? Did it feel 100% the knee?
You know, from first fight is a little bit short time before fight. Like, you know, it's like 4 months, 3 months. It's during the camp, you know, everything together. It's not perfect that time, but now it's better.
Now it's close to perfect.
Yes, close to perfect.
So that means your movement now could be better.
I hope,
yeah. Was it your toughest fight?
If you compare what, like, he went to decision, like everything, yes, you can say his toughest fight, but it's a little bit different. I think in my boxing career I had more strong guys, like, I mean, but it's different, but you can say, yes, it's the toughest fight.
I was going to say this, like, what are the challenges now left for you in boxing? Like, what are the challenges? You've won every single belt. You beat everyone.
Not everyone.
Ah, who else?
I have not beat nobody in this room.
But no one in this room would fight you. No one would fight you. But are there more challenges for you? Do you look at
there is.
Benavidez, maybe cruiserweight as other challenges?
We'll see. Like, you know, for these things, I think I prefer to talk about after fight.
After fight, indeed. In the first fight against Bivol, you said that you were not happy with your performance, that you could do better. You still believe that you could do better?
Of course.
Why? You won. You were fantastic.
Like, you know, if you believe like you did something, even like training, you know, you went to training and you have done training and you think, yeah, I did best training, it's not good. I believe like this. I don't know.
Everything can get better a little bit,
I
even
hope,
if it's
I
1%.
I believe.
You can go. You know, I've done face off. You and Bivol, right? You've done the face off. I always say shake hand, and you always say no shake hand. Why? Why?
It's very simple, you know. Like, for example, we have fight tomorrow night.
We shake hand maybe after the fight.
Yeah, like you want to beat me, like, you know, you want to push me hardest, like as you can, you know. And why I give you shake, like.
They say this is the greatest fight card ever.
Yeah.
Right, and then you look at the names, you know. Anyway, you look at the names. Every name, big name. You're the main event. You are the main event of the greatest fight card. It must feel good to know, look at what I've done, look what I've achieved.
Yeah, like, it's amazing, like, you know, I'm honored to be main event, even part of this card, like, you know, I appreciate it, like.
Will this be your last fight at light heavyweight?
Light heavyweight? We'll see, like, I don't know.
You know,
I want to
push you up.
Push me up.
Yeah, I want to push you up because there's bigger challenges up there that I want you to do. Yeah.
But I feel good in this way too, like weight class.
The weight cut not difficult?
So far no.
Okay.
But there is another 10 kilo. We'll see.
You're not serious. I wish you good luck, Beterbiev. Thank you very much, brother.
Why are you trying to push him out? I want to see Benavidez versus the winner. Why are you trying to push him out? We got a huge fight. Benavidez is flying over to Riyadh to be there ringside to fight the winner of this fight. Why are you trying to? That's a bigger fight than him going up.
You know what it is? Like, I saw, obviously, like, I sat with Bivol. I was there when Joshua Buatsi was in the room. I saw Callum Smith. He is such a big light heavyweight. I'm not trying to say he's a weight bully, but he's so big, I feel like he could do some damage at cruiserweight. And I just want to see other challenges. You're right, Benavidez is there. So maybe if he were to win this, Benavidez then go up. But I want to see challenges. I think Zerdo is a good challenge. I think Opatai is a good challenge. I just want to see what he can do when he's almost the smaller guy. Because right now I see him in the ring and he's just bigger than everyone. And it just doesn't seem right. But when he fought Bivol the first time round, it honestly looked like there was two weight classes apart when they got in the ring. Like they weigh 175 and then one stays at 175 and one goes to nearly 200. And I just want to see what it's like when he's up against guys that are, I think, his size.
Poor David Benavidez, he can't get the Canelo fight, and Ade's trying to snatch the Beterbiev fight away from him if he wins. If he loses, then they might have to run it back again. But I've already said, we've seen it twice at that point. Give me something fresh. And by the way, one of the big questions surrounding Artur is, he's 40 at this point. And, you know, knee injury, at some point, it's all going to catch up to him. I wonder how many fights he has left. Did he give you any indication as to how long he wants to fight for?
He said, look, as long as his body holds up and the injuries kind of stay away, which I guess it's rare, especially when you watch what he does in training camp. Like, it's almost like this isn't injury prevention. Like, you're going to put an injury on. He does some crazy stuff with barbells and dumbbells. But, I mean, we are seeing fighters go on and on now. I mean, Terence Crawford, arguably the pound-for-pound number one, is 38. I mean, Usyk is 38. The great Bernard Hopkins went on to 50. So we are seeing fighters that live their life, maybe kind of push on a bit further than your average athlete. LeBron James, Cristiano Ronaldo. We are seeing fighters and extreme athletes go on for longer and longer. And I feel like Beterbiev is one of those fighters that because he doesn't drink, because he takes things seriously, he could maybe go on to mid-40s.
All right, well, I can't wait to see that. You can't make picks, right? Because you're working the card. You don't do that too.
I make picks, brother.
Oh, you do?
I make picks. I don't mind that.
Okay, I thought it was against broadcast rules.
Get out of here, man. This is the 21st century.
I love it.
The rules have changed.
Okay, can we go through
Shoot me.
Okay.
Go.
All right, who do we got in the main? Now you're not making a pick. What is it?
It's such a hard fight to call. You know, Bivol points.
Bivol points.
Bivol points, like super close. Like as close as the first fight was, Bivol just makes a couple of adjustments and wins it 7-5. Bivol points.
I'll go with my fellow Canadian, Artur Beterbiev. He gets it done, and then we get the absolute car crash that is David Benavidez versus Artur Beterbiev.
Dude, that's a car crash.
Oh my!
That's a truck crash. The car's too small. A truck crashing into each other.
Dubois Parker.
Dubois. Yeah, Dubois. I just have to go with the man that's on form right now. I mean, the run he's on right now is quite frightening. And as you said, I mean, Joseph's been out the ring for what will be like 11 months time Saturday rolls around.
I'll stick with my guy, George Lockhart's prediction. I'll go with Joseph Parker. What a story.
What, you going third round knockout?
Hell yeah, why not? He said it so emphatically with such confidence. Who am I to tell him that he's wrong?
Are you just going against me on purpose? Is this
honestly no? I honestly no, but perhaps we'll agree on this one.
Against me.
Shakur Stevenson versus TBD, and it sounds like it might be Joshua Padley. Who knows? Ultimately, maybe by the time we sign off, we'll get some sort of definitive answer. Turkey didn't get back to me after I asked to follow up. Nevertheless, I think we could both agree that Shakur should win against someone who's stepping in on 3 days' notice or so.
Shakur would win if anyone was stepping on 6 months' notice. I am Shakur versus anyone in the 135-pound division. So if it is Josh Padley, look, I like Josh. Good luck. Get the check. Shakur.
By the way, can I just say, what's fascinating about this, if he does in fact remain on the card, remember, I think we both agree that there's a ton of pressure on his shoulders to get back on track. Imagine the pressure now if he just coasts to a decision win over a guy who's taking a fight on 3 days' notice. He almost is in a lose-lose situation because he has to get a stoppage now, right? If he it's almost like it's worked out to the point where you cannot get a decision. It is absolutely off the table to get a decision over a guy who's taken this fight on 3 days' notice, probably not even in his proper weight class, right? He has to get the stoppage on Saturday. It's a must at this point.
It's a must. And I mean, you keep saying 3 days' notice. I mean, to be honest, by the time the guy arrives,
sure. Yeah.
I mean, the guy, whoever's going to fight him is probably going to arrive Friday.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of traveling they're going to have to do, So, no. This can't go more than 4 or 5 rounds. And I feel sorry for Shakur because obviously, look, he's damaged his hands in the past. He just had surgery. You don't really want to have to sit on your punches and really crack someone. But he might just have to take the risk and do it, which is dangerous. I mean, I spoke to Shakur and I said, look, you need to be fighting 3 times a year. And he said, Ade, honestly, with my hands, I can only really fight twice a year. So he knows how bad those hands are. So that's why I kind of asked the question, does Shakur stay on the card? Because, again, the risk reward for him fighting, it's a big risk. I mean, it's a big reward because he's getting paid. But ultimately, like you say, if he doesn't get rid of his opponent in 3 or 4 rounds, people will go on and start talking nonsense about him on Twitter again.
Ortiz Madrimov, I'll go first so you don't accuse me of going against you. I'll go with Virgil Ortiz.
Dude, you know what? Don't get upset with me on this one. This is the only one where I will fence it.
Wow.
This is so tough to call. I'm only fencing him because of how difficult this is for me to kind of call. I think Madrimov looked incredible against Terence Crawford. I think Virgil Ortiz weathered the storm against Boychuk. Virgil Ortiz is a killer. We know that you look at the punch record, the knockout record is frightening. Madrimov, I think, could be the better boxer of the two. Boxer versus puncher, I'm split. I could wake up and change my mind, so I'm going to fence it on this one.
Caballel Zhang, I'll go with...
Caballel.
Oh, wow, I was going to go with Big Bang Zhang. I'll go with Big Bang Zhang.
I'm going Caballel. I think Caballel is the most underrated heavyweight there is.
Yeah,
I mean, this guy gets wins, and everyone disrespects the wins.
It's a big fight.
I'm going Caballel.
All right, and finally, Smith Boatty, which gets talked about every time anyone talks about this card because it's the curtain jerker, if you will. I'll go with Boatty, and I love, by the way, he lets the beard grow and then shaves it right before the fight, so he looks completely different. I'll go with Joshua Boatty.
I'm going Joshua Boatty as well. I mean, Smith obviously had that time out in the ring after the Beterbiev fight. He came back and fought in a very low-level fight on a Matchroom undercard. He's already reached the mountaintop before, so I do wonder about desire and hunger. He has the power and skills to beat Boatty, but I think Boatty's just desperate to almost get to where Smith got to. So I'm just going to go with Boatty to edge it. We missed out one, by the way. We missed out Hamza Shiraz.
Oh, of course. Yes, of course. All right, who you got?
Come on now. I'm British.
Yeah.
I'm British. You know where I'm going with this one. Hamza Shiraz to become the 11th British middleweight world champion. I'm going Hamza.
And by the way, it's almost fitting, and that's on me. This fight has flown under the radar, and again, to the point of every single fight on this card, it could have headlined. Shiraz looked fantastic back in September as well. It has flown under the radar, and he deserves all the credit, and could be in the mix for a big fight if he wins this one. Could be in the mix for a big fight. Maybe, I don't know, maybe a Canelo fight down the line.
Maybe. You know? I think if Chris Eubank Jr. beats Conor Benn, I almost feel like the plans are happening for Chris Eubank Jr. versus Hamza Shiraz, and the winner fights Canelo. I know I'm sort of just summarizing here in hypotheticals, but I do think there is a plan with Hamza. And he spoke about fighting Canelo. So I think, look, he probably looks at Canelo in the distant future and thinks, I've got a couple more big ones to get through. And then who knows? You know what's good about this card? The fact that we have lost Floyd versus Shakur, and it doesn't damage it.
No.
That's why this card is so good. Like, normally you lose that type of fight. It's like, what's the point? We've lost it, and still, reading off the names that you just mentioned, it's still so good.
No,
it's still fantastic. So good. And Shakur still stays on it, fingers crossed. So, yes, we've lost something, but nothing to really damage it like it would normally damage a card.
Want to remind the viewers that you can watch the entire card right here on DAZN. DAZN pay-per-view is the place to be this Saturday, February 22nd. It all kicks off at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. in the UK, and I do believe, if my math is correct, that is 7 p.m. in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. There it is, the last crescendo. Schofield on the poster right there, and so unfortunately we didn't have enough time to edit that out, but let's hope that Shakur remains on the card as well. Hey, before we go, let's go around the ring, if you will, with some news and notes. Since the last time we spoke, Ade, we did find out that the much-talked-about rematch between one Ben Whittaker and Liam Cameron, a fight that happened on the same card as Bivol Beterbiev 1 or Beterbiev Bivol 2, regardless of which way you go, that fight happened, and it ended in a very controversial and weird fashion. It is going down on the 20th of April back home in England. Surprised that Whittaker took this fight, or did he have to take this fight?
He had to. There's nothing he could do. And I'm not trying to say Ben didn't want to take it, because I think Ben's the kind of guy that would say, okay, let's just do this again properly. But he had to take the fight. Look, I'm a big Ben Whittaker fan. I think he's got sort of superstar status around him. It looks like he's going to team up with Andy Lee.
Ooh.
I kind of asked Andy about that today, and Andy kind of was like, didn't really say much. But I think once Andy gets done with this Daniel Dubois, Joseph Parker fight, I think Andy Lee goes straight to Ben Whittaker, and they create a little super team, and then I expect to see another Ben Whittaker unlocked. I really do. So he had to take the fight. It's a big fight. Well done to Boxer and everyone to get in this fight across the line. It's a big one. Can't wait for it.
I love that. I love that pairing. I love everything about Andy. Tremendous guy and a tremendous coach. Look at what he's done with Joseph Parker. That is great. Now, Turki Al-Sheikh, speaking of him, talking about Teofimo Lopez fighting at Alcatraz. Do you know what Alcatraz is? Are you familiar with Alcatraz?
Of course, it's been on like every movie I've watched as a kid since the 70s.
This is crazy.
The prison that no one wants to go to. Yeah, I blew my mind when I heard it.
In the prison, outside of the prison, like this is like a deserted place that people go visit. One of the most terrifying and infamous, notorious jails in the world. He wants to put Teofimo Lopez there. Who's he fighting there?
Yeah.
Who do you think?
I don't know. 140-pound divisions. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the options are for him. Richardson Hitchens is one that stands out. Unification fight. So maybe that kind of makes sense. There's been a lot of talk about Teofimo going to 147. I'm not quite sure. Is Barrios okay? I mean, he's fight on the undercard of the Mike Tyson-Jake Paul. He took a beating. Is he ready? I'm not quite sure. But look, Teofimo is a star himself. I mean, there are antics he does, which clearly I do not like. And, you know, the accusations about the banana thing, they're only accusations at the moment. But if that's true, then he needs to sort that out. But in the ring, I love him. In the ring, I do love that guy. I think he's a fantastic fighter. I think he's the best 140-pounder right now. But there are good fights at 140 or 147. My money would be Richardson Hitchens.
I would like to see that. A New York boy getting a big-time fight. By the way, Turkey has been talking about hosting events in some unique spots. Where else did he mention? Eiffel Tower, I believe. the pyramids in Mexico. Is there any spot that you can think of where you'd love to see a fight, like a super unique spot? Anywhere back home?
Can I be honest with you? Not really. I mean, the one that I still find intriguing is this Times Square one. I mean, I know we spoke about it a few weeks back. Obviously, Times Square, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I just don't know how you put a ring there. I don't know how much. I don't even know if you're allowed to, because it's the busiest spot in New York. I mean, I don't get it. And now I'm hearing potentially it could be a case of tickets are free. You just come along and watch.
Wow.
That one intrigues me the most. I'm so intrigued to see a fight slap bang in the middle of Times Square. I can't even imagine the permissions.
Oh my God.
to get a ring there. So if he can achieve that, then I guess anywhere on earth is possible. But that one excites me the most for now.
And that one will feature, of course, Martin Bacoli, Devin Haney against Jose Carlos Ramirez, and of course Ryan Garcia against Rolly Romero. That is at least slated for the 2nd of May right here in New York. Although when Turkey announced it, he didn't say specifically Times Square, but it seems like all signs point to Times Square. I'll be honest, when I first heard about this, I was like, no, you mean Madison Square Garden, right? Or Barclays Center, or I don't know, Hammerstein Ballroom or something. Surely not Times Square of all places. Maybe one of the busiest intersections in the world. It's like that one and what is it, Shibuya Crossing in Tokyo. And I can't even imagine the logistical nightmare. And what if it rains, for heaven's sakes? But that would be quite the scene.
Is it not cold? I mean, I've only been to New York around the summertime. Is it not cold?
May 2nd should be all right.
It's okay? May's okay? Okay.
It should be all right. I mean, you were here late April. It was actually kind of chilly back in Brooklyn last year, right? So, yeah,
it was.
It is.
I really want him to move the date. I mean, who am I to ask dates to be moved?
Yes.
Turkey, if you're watching this, can you move the date? Because, I mean, they're talking about Canelo versus William Skull May 3rd in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia.
So which one? You'll come
May
here.
2nd. And
Come here. You can come in studio. This is your home. Mi casa, su casa. Do the show together. It makes all the sense in the world.
Makes sense. It makes sense. But Canelo in Saudi Arabia, Canelo's first fight, undisputed.
Yeah. Times Square. Ryan Garcia in Times Square sounds like a match made in heaven. Remember him on the subway last year? Remember him?
Sounds like carnage. Sounds like absolute carnage. I just don't know. Because it isn't just Times Square. It's the road you have to shut down in and around Times Square. Wow.
All right. Well, let's see. Let us see. Of course, we have big business to take care of this Saturday. And before we go, of course, we do have to mention it is time now for everyone's favorite segment of the week. It is time for our parting shot presented by no one yet. But it's going to happen. It's going to happen, Ade.
Whose job is it to find a sponsor? Should I get on the case?
I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, all right? But we're working on it. The parting shot this week. And we go back to New York. We go to this beautiful city. We go to the theater right next door to Madison Square Garden where Keyshawn Davis became a champion for the first time. Look at this body shot. You see that? Golly. What a shot from Keyshawn Davis. And he knew. He didn't even need the count. He knew it was over. An absolute stud he is.
Oh, he can dance as well. Oh, yeah. Oh, he's got a few moves as well.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, Ade, because I did ask him. And I love that ceiling, by the way. I crack jokes about the theater, but the ceiling is fantastic. Look at the smile. Look at the charisma. Look at the excitement. I asked him, what's the name of that dance? And I said, is it the Dougie? Is it, what's the other one? Yeah, teach me how to Dougie. Teach me, or what's the other one? Golly, they don't like to talk on the show. They're dying to tell me right now. So what's the other one? Soldier Boy up in there. Oh, no, it's not that. It's called the Businessman Bop. Because he is the businessman. In case you missed it, this is it. Look at the Businessman Bop.
Look at it.
Ah, yeah.
Oh, I like it.
He did that back in November as well.
He's got a bit of hop on him as well, isn't it? Yeah. He's just an athlete. He just looks like an athlete. As much as I don't like what Tio's done, and people don't judge me on what I'm going to say, I like the fact that there is a little sign between those two. Like, you can be as good as you want. If you don't have a dance partner, then you're dancing by yourself. I like there's a little heat between him and Tio, and that's been growing for about 12 months. That almost could be a little super fight to look out for kind of back end of the year. I think Keyshawn's got the frame to go to 140. And if you can get Teo before he decides to jump to 147, I feel like that's a little bit of a super fight that we probably wouldn't have predicted a couple of years ago that I think might be the one to make back end of 2025. I feel like Keyshawn has the frame to go up another weight class, maybe 2 weight classes.
He did say that only a couple fights left. By the way, he also mentioned that he thinks that the most realistic next fight for him could be Isaac Cruz, who won on that February 1st card in Las Vegas.
Risky.
And I don't mind it. I don't mind it. He's dreaming big. Way back when, after he knocked out Jose Aldo, Conor McGregor told me the fight game is all about having numbers and options. And what he meant by numbers, of course, were the big paychecks, but options. Options in terms of opponents that you could fight, that people want to see you fight against. And all of a sudden, young 25-year-old Keyshawn Davis has people clamoring for an Andy Cruz fight, clamoring for a Tank Davis fight, clamoring for a Teofimo Lopez fight, clamoring for a Pitbull Cruz fight. That's what you want if you're a young fighter. And I love the fact that he's putting himself in that mix. So shout out to him.
Can I ask you a question to put you on the spot? Can you rank the 4 champions are Loma, Gervonta, Shakur, Keyshawn? Can you rank them 1 to 4?
Meaning who's the best?
Yeah.
Well, I'd obviously go with Keyshawn number 1 because he visited me in studio, and I'm.
Is that how we do it? Is that how we do it? Jesus.
Keyshawn, Tank, Loma. I don't know what's up with Loma. Is Loma done? Is he like he?
Wait. Keyshawn, that means you're going to put Shakur at 4?
No. I was just mentioning. I don't know where I put him. Ultimately, I'll go with Keyshawn, Tank, Shakur, Loma.
Okay, Keyshawn. Yes. Okay.
You disagree?
Okay, cool. Yeah, I disagree.
And would you say probably Tank, Keyshawn? No, you'd probably say Tank, Shakur, Keyshawn.
I'll say Shakur,
really?
Tank, Loma, Keyshawn.
Shakur over Tank?
Yeah.
Wow.
Love him. Yeah,
Wait, is this who you like or who you think is the best right now?
Who I think's the best.
Wow.
Like if they were to all fight in some sort of mini series, I think Shakur comes out on top.
And this has nothing to do with the fact that you may see him in the lobby in like 5 hours.
Maybe. Maybe. You know what it's like when you go past these fighters. Like, what did you say about me?
Yeah, it's
so maybe it might be that. It might be that. And I know I'm not going to see Loma anytime soon, so maybe that might be the reason.
What a freaking division. What a weight class. Hopefully we get at least one of those fights later on this year. Ade, my man, a pleasure as always. Tremendous work so far in Riyadh, and can't wait to see what the rest of the week happens. Hopefully no more drama. Let's just get to Saturday.
Can you tell the world what time it is here in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia? How dedicated to this show I am?
You are dedicated.
It's like 2:30 in the morning. 2:30 in the morning.
But do you even get on Riyadh time, or do you stay on UK time? I think that's the move. The latter is the move, no?
Maybe.
Yeah. Either way, it's pretty darn late, and so we shall let you go. Great work. Can't wait to talk about it all this time next week. But for now, my friends, thank you so much for watching another episode of the program. We appreciate you all very much. Enjoy the fights. We'll talk to you next week.